Everyone, welcome back to my channel, Watcher of the Forest. Thank you so much to my subscribers, old and new. You're all awesome. I love you all so much. Thank you for the comments and likes. You guys rock. So let's get into today's reading. Happy New Year's Eve. Okay, this reading is Say It With Me. I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. Whatever that good is for you. Is it your personal life, your working life, your friendship life? I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. Okay, Divine Source Energy, God, please let us know what cards you would like. I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. What cards do you have for us? The Ten of Pentacles. I owe it to myself. The Six of Pentacles. The Hierophant. Say it with me. I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. Six of Wands. Seven of Wands. The Empress. Don't you just love tarot? Each deck, each spread is different. It's just so awesome. So let's see. Say it with me. I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. Okay, we're starting out this reading with the Ten of Pentacles. I mean, I don't know how much good it can get than that. You have material success. You have lasting wealth and health, lasting prosperity. I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. Maybe you've pushed yourself into staying with your company or your business. I owe it to myself to see how good it can get, right? I'm not going to self sabotage myself anymore. I'm going to see how good it can get for myself. If I give myself, 150% every day, I mean, you can say whatever, 200%, 1,000%, whatever, 100%, I'm going to put into my business and I'm going to make it work, right? I owe it to myself. I've gone through hell and back many, many times, right? You're saying to yourself, I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. Universe, please surprise me. Show me how good it can get, right? I mean, yes, say that to yourself every morning. Universe, you know, show me how good it can get. And I bet you anything you're going to be surprised, right? Ten of Pentacles. You have achievements and financial security. It's an awesome foundation that you've built for yourself, right? I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. And wow, it is absolutely fantastic. You're charitable, right? You're giving to others. Give or receive aid, charity, generosity, fairness. You're just a well rounded person, right? Doing things for others because you understand that by helping other people out, you're actually helping yourself out because the universe is going to bless you, right? Maybe you're sharing your knowledge and experience with other people to help them understand their life more or to help them live a better life, right? Say it with me. I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. The Hierophant. Yes, you're sticking to your traditional values. You know, you love your spirituality, right? You love your relationship with God and Jesus Christ, right? And your ancestors who lived before you, right? In the angels and the archangels. There is you're recognizing that yes, there is a spiritual world. There's a spiritual realm. We were there first, and now we're here, right? Because we're all spiritual beings. You're recognizing that, right, within yourself. The Six of Wands, victory, success. Oh my gosh. Thank God you stuck it out, right? Thank God you stuck it out, because I owe it to myself to see how good it can get, right? I'm having a lot of advancement in my career, lots of achievement is what you're saying to yourself. Thank God, right? Um, you are, I owe it to myself to see how good it can get, right? So you stuck it out. And each time that you come across a challenge in your life, you are, putting your nose to the grindstone, right? You're like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to ask other people how could I do this? I'm going to take some, a little bit of opinion there, a little bit of opinion there, and then I'm going to figure it out for myself, right? That gives you confidence and you have respect from other people. You validate yourself, right? You don't need other people to validate you. You validate yourself, something that you learned, right? The Seven of Wands. No longer are you in defense. You don't have to feel that way because you are pushing yourself, not to exhaustion, but you are seeing how good it can get, right? I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. I'm going to stand my ground. I'm going to be in a favorable position in my life, right? Is what you're saying to yourself. And you are, showing up every day with tenacity, right? And resilience, because you know that if you set your mind to it, you can achieve great things in your life, right? You really can. You can achieve great things in your life. And you're understanding that. And you're like, wow, I'm showing up for myself in my life, right? And I'm being brave, and I am, whatever business you have, right? You are doing it for yourself because you owe it to yourself to see how good it can get. How many people out there say to themselves every morning, I owe it to myself to see how good it can get? I'm thinking very few, except for the very successful people out there, you know, who are go getters and high vibrational, right? Eat well, exercise every day, and just have a good outlook on life, right? And give back. Those people probably do. I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. You know, it's New Year's Eve, maybe next year, tomorrow, right? You'll be saying to yourself, I owe it to myself to see how good it can get, right? That kind of like changes your, I want to say, it changes the clarity within yourself, right? It really does. You get clarity on your work life, you get clarity on your personal life, you get clarity on your friendship life, right? Maybe you need to put more love into all those different um, categories in your life, right? I owe it to I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. The Empress. Maybe you are the Empress, right? You're fruitful. You have beauty inside and out. Beauty isn't just how someone looks, right? Beauty is beautiful, whether you're you know, the beauty shines from the inside out is what I want to say, okay? Success. You have a lot of success. You could be a mother. You could be very nurturing and loving to other people, but you're also nurturing and loving to yourself. You spread your creativity around, right? You use the laws of nature, whatever that is for you. Maybe when it's dark out, you go to sleep, you know, just like nature does, right? And when it's light out, you wake up, right? A lot of people do that. Um, they do that. They follow the laws of nature like that in their sleep patterns. Lots of people say that that's just, works very well for them, right? They're not staying up until 11, 12, 1 a.m. and then going to sleep, because that really does disrupt your natural clock inside your body, right? Say it with me. I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. Yes, we all do, right? We all owe it to ourselves to see how good it can get. No more self sabotaging, right? No more talking yourself out of something fantastic just because you're scared, right? How many times have we all done that, right? So you're learning, you owe it to yourself. I owe it to myself to see how good it can get, right? Yes, you're learning. And maybe this is going to be your New Year's resolution. I owe it to myself to see how good it can get, right? So I'm going to ask my spiritual team for 1 or 2 cards for this reading. Let's see what, whoops, I'm not going to, what is that? 3. I'm not going to take them. Not even going to look at them. We'll just take 1 or 2 cards, please. Passive income. 1 more card, please. Retirement. Oh, wow. Say it with me. I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. Passive income. The best money is made while you sleep. Yes, it is. Passive income. Retirement. Working hard can be a thing of the past. Yeah, you know, can be a thing of the present too, right? I mean, I'm just saying working hard can be a thing of the past. Yeah, I believe that you're working smarter, not harder, right? Isn't that the new thing? Say it with me. I owe it myself. I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. So you owe it to yourself. Maybe you were doing physical work. Maybe you don't want to do that anymore. Now you can hire someone and let them do the physical work, right? Maybe that's what it is. You owe it to yourself to see how good it can get. Yes, you have options, right? You have options and choices in your life. I think so many times people go into a job or a business or whatnot thinking that they have to do everything. No, you really don't. You can, hire other people, even part time, to do something else that you don't want to do anymore, right? You can take that approach. I just saw 345 on the timer. Anyways, yes, you owe it to yourself to see how good it can get. There's so many choices and there's people out there to support you, right? But you have to recognize that. And I believe that you are. I believe you're recognizing that you have choices and there's other people to support you out there in this world, right? All you have to do is ask, right? Just ask a question. You have an answer, you can ask Google, you can go on YouTube, try to look for the answer there, or you can just ask a real person, right? Hey, Stan, if you were going to do this, how would you do it? Just to get someone else's opinion, and then let Stan tell you how he would do it, right? And then you can go back to your office and think about it and just pick out the parts that you jive with, right? And think, oh, I could do it that way, this way, whatever. I'm going to take a little bit of what Stan told me and then I'm going to apply that into my life, right? So that it can get better, right? I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. I'm applying this storyline as work. It could be for your friendships. Maybe you need to put in more effort with your friends, right? It could be for family life, 2, 3, 4 on the timer. Maybe it can be, you need to spend more time with your kids, right? I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. Maybe you need to spend more time in your relationships. That could be a scenario also, right? I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. Yes, we all owe it to ourselves to see how good it can get, right? Don't self sabotage yourself anymore, okay? Just because you're scared. We all get scared, right? And you're figuring that out now. So for 2026, I hope that you wake up in the morning and you say to yourself, I owe it to myself to see how good it can get, right? That's what you're saying to yourself. I can hear it already. I owe it to myself to see how good it can get. Kind of sets you up for success already, doesn't it? Just that sentence. I owe it to myself. Yeah, you do. You owe it to yourself to see how good it can get. It can get as good as you want it to get, right? Yeah, it really can. If you're looking for excuses, they're always going to be there, always, right? But if you just push past those excuses, right? That's how you get this spread, the 10 of Pentacles, 6 of Pentacles, the Hierophant, 6 of Wands, 7 of Wands, and the Empress. It's just such a beautiful, blessed spread because you're believing in yourself, right? I can feel it. I can feel you believing in yourself already. You're believing in yourself and you're going to make it happen for yourself in 2026, right? I'm really happy for you. So, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. It was a beautiful reading for yourself, right? And I know you can do it. You got this. So, thank you so much. Happy New Year's Eve, everyone. Take care.